but I checked it out, and it is a big problem. And I thought, I think you've been trying to get this done for 20 years or something. He said Trump got it done in 2 weeks. But we came up with a very serious EO, and I'm going to sign it now, and maybe I'll ask you, Will, to explain a little bit about it, please.
Of course, sir. So this is an executive order, as you said, that deals with the ticket reselling business. For fans of live entertainment and for entertainers as well, the ticket reselling industry has become a huge issue. These people use bots and computer algorithms to buy up huge blocks of tickets and then jack up the price so that fans of live entertainers like Mr. Ritchie, I almost called him Mr. Rock, don't have access to concerts the way that they should. And when they do, it's at exorbitantly high prices. So what this executive order does, it charges the FTC and the Department of Justice with rigorously enforcing laws on the books in collaboration with state attorneys general that have power over consumer protection and other people who have the power to really crack down on this issue so that entertainers and fans won't be subject to these abusive and oftentimes illegal practices.
Good. Thank you very much. Bob, do you want to say something?
Yeah, anybody who's, it doesn't matter your politics. First of all, thank you, Mr. President, because this has happened at lightning speed. I know you put, I want to make sure Alina Habba gets her credit too, because I know she worked very hard on this, but thank you for making this happen so quick. Anyone who's bought a concert ticket in the last decade, maybe 20 years, no matter what your politics are, knows that it's a conundrum. You buy a ticket for $100, by the time you check out, it's $170. You don't know what you can charge for, but more importantly, these bots. You know, they come in to get all the good tickets to your favorite shows you want to go to, and then they're relisted immediately for sometimes a 400 or 500% markup. And the artists don't see any of that money. And, you know, ultimately, I think this is a great first step. I would love down the road if there would be some legislation that we could actually put a cap on the resale of tickets. And I'm a capitalist and a deregulation guy, but they've tried this in some places in Europe, and it seems to be the only thing that's us as artists be able to get the tickets into the hands of the fans at the prices we set. I'll be the first one to say, and I know the president doesn't like when I say this, but I'm a little overpaid right now. It's kind of ridiculous. I would rather be, you know, a hero to working class people and have them be able to come attend my shows and give them a fair ticket price. I can't control that right now, so hopefully this is a step to really be able to make that happen. I know a lot of artists and a lot of fans who love concerts and music are going to be very appreciative of you taking this action,
I think
sir.
Bob is more interested in the fans and the people that are having to pay crazy prices than he is the artist. Maybe the artist a little bit, but the fans a lot. I've spoken to him over the years about it, and it's been, it bothers him. It bothers a lot of other artists too. You see,
does.
the artists, and they go out with a $100 ticket and it sells for $2,000 the following night. And they seem to be able to sweep up the best locations too, which is pretty amazing. So
They've only enforced that Bots Act one time, I believe.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago in New York City, I think we got a $2 million fine. And that's the only time they've enforced that act.
And who's the primary culprit? Who sells these tickets?
It's the scalpers. It's these bots go in, they're automated, so you're...
But is there a company involved? You might not want to say.
No. Well, there's reselling markets all... Yeah.
I think I know, Peter. But that's all right. Don't get them involved.
What company do you think?
Maybe they're more innocent than we think. Huh?
Well, if you think of it, like if Ticketmaster sells a ticket, if you buy a ticket and go to a show, you're in a lot of ways their worst customer. Because they make another 17, whatever percentage every time that ticket resells. So they don't want to enforce the Bots Act necessarily because they're making more money off it. The artists don't see any of that money, but that's not what I'm advocating for, is for me to make more money. I want the fans to have fair ticket prices, be able to go and enjoy more shows. I know people that can they decide on a family vacation or going to their favorite concert once a year rather than, you know, my parents used to go see multiple shows when you could afford them back in their day. And I'd like to take my ticket prices lower, but if I set my ticket prices low, these bots immediately eat them up and they resell for hundreds of dollars more, and I'm just making these bad actors rich.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a big step to getting it stopped. Do you have something, Brian?
Yeah, I do actually. I actually feel that the consumer is going to take the money that they've saved and actually buy merch, which you guys have a big percentage of, or do concessions, which you guys split with the venue on that as well. So I think their money
We don't
goes
share in
first.
concessions a lot. But
No?
those are, we try to, but they don't want to share it in the beer prices and parking or any of that stuff. But the bottom line is there's money for everyone to be made. there's plenty of money to go around. No one's going to really lose here. Ticketmaster, if we can get a cap, they're going to lose some money, but I've already talked to the CEO, Michael, and he's given me his word. He's on board for it.
I was talking to Jacoby with Papa Roach earlier, and by the way, he's a big fan of what you're doing, President Trump, digging into this whole scalping and the bots. A lot of musicians, you can say that, they're with Kid Rock, sir, on
I
this,
think so.
without a doubt.
A lot of people are.
President Trump,
Peter?
would you ever wear a jacket like that?
I don't know. I was thinking about doing it for tomorrow. We have a big event coming up, and I was thinking about doing it, but I'm not sure.
So you recently bought a Tesla for White House staff
I did.
to use, but now there's all these domestic terrorists targeting Teslas. Are the staff scared to drive it?
I don't think so. I haven't heard. They weren't complaining. I did buy one, and I let the staff use it. We have it parked conveniently, and one day we give it to Margot, one day we give it to Chamberlain, give it to Natalie, we give it to everybody around. Give it to Dan Scavino, but he's got so much money it doesn't matter. But they love the car, and it's a great car, and it's made here. It's made in the country. He's got a tremendous plant now in Texas, and he has one in California. Does a lot of his work here, and he's been really unfairly treated, in my opinion.
I drive one.
And
Yeah.
there's this other story. I know it's hypothetical right now, but if you were allowed for some reason to run for a third term, is there a thought that the Democrats could try to run Barack Obama against you
I'd love
for
that.
his third term?
Boy, I'd love that. That would be a good one. I'd like that. No, people are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a third term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that. But I have not looked into it. I want to do a fantastic job. We have 4 years, just about, almost close to 4 years. Time is flying, but it's still close to 4 years, and we're getting a lot of credit for having done a great job in the first almost 100 days. And we have some big things we're going to be announcing over the next 2 days that you know very well, Peter, and I think it's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of wealth back to our country, tremendous wealth back to our country, actually. And other countries are understanding it because they've been ripping us for 50 years, longer, but they've been ripping us off for years, right from the beginning. And I think this is going to be an amazing, I call it a lot of different names, but it's really, in a sense, it's a rebirth of a country because how we could have afforded to do what we did. We help everybody, and they don't help us. I really, the term I like best probably is the liberation of America. It's the liberation of this country because it's incredible. Look, we have $36 trillion in debt for a reason, and that accumulates over a long period of time. So I think what you're going to be seeing over the next couple of days will be very inspiring to a lot of people. They had a lot of auto plants being built in a certain country. I don't want to mention the country because we get along great with the country, but those plants aren't being built there anymore. They gave them up today and yesterday, day before, and they're building them all now in the United States. And we have many examples, not only auto plants, chip companies from Taiwan are coming in. The biggest, Mr. Wei, he's big. I said, you are a smart guy, aren't you? I've been reading about him over the years, but he controls a large portion of the chip business, as you know. You don't get smarter. They're going to be investing $200 or $300 billion. Apple's investing $500 billion. They always built their places in China. Now he's building here. I think because of you speak to Tim Cook, because of the election, but maybe more importantly because of the tariffs. He's got really an obligation to do it. But we have many, many companies that you haven't even heard of. But I think we'll be at $5 trillion very soon. And if you think about this, we've never been anywhere near that. I don't know if we've ever been at $1 trillion.
What do you mean by that?
We're 500. What do I mean by a trillion?
5 trillion. What are you referring to, sir?
I think that we're going to be at $5 trillion of investment. I think you're going to have investments very shortly. We're already 3.5, and we have commitments, verbal commitments for a lot more. And numbers like that have never been done in this country. And it's going to get harder. This is in 2 months. It's really in less than 2 months because since we've really gone out with it. And we have other interesting things happening. But to me, the whole tariff situation, and essentially they've done that to us for many years. So if we're anywhere near $5 trillion in 2 months, this could be numbers like the country's never seen. And every time you hear a dollar spent, that's another job because the jobs are coming with it. So auto plants, chip plants, pharmaceuticals, lumber coming in. We have things happening in this country. I'm not sure that they've ever seen it. Steel, we have tariffs on steel. They've been here for a while. Steel and aluminum. Nobody's ever seen anything like we're witnessing now. Nobody's ever seen anything. Most of you agree with that. I mean, it's nothing much you can't agree with. We have things happening in terms of jobs and investment, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen. If you look at, let's say, $4 to $5 trillion in a period of a month and a half, that's even more than you do with your concerts, which are always sold out, right? Nobody's ever seen numbers. And think of it, where Apple's at $500 billion, as I said, but they always used to spend that money in China. Now they're spending it here. That means they're going to build. Now, they don't have any tariffs. Remember, there are no tariffs if you do your product here, if you build whatever it is in the USA. One of the things we're also trying to get is if you buy a car that was built in the USA, you get a deduction on interest. So if you go out and borrow money to buy a car, if it's built in the USA, never been done before, it's a big deduction for people that really aren't used to deductions, frankly, because people that buy cars like that are not big into the world of deductions, and now they're going to learn about deductions. So I think it's going to be great. Yeah.
Mr. President, are you going to move ahead with a universal tariff or different individual tariff rates on a whole variety of different?
Well, you're going to see in 2 days, which is maybe tomorrow night or probably Wednesday, you're going to see. And they're reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we charge them, but we're being nicer than they were. We have a lot of countries, friend and foe. I always say friend and foe, but the friend in many cases is worse than the foe. They took advantage of us. And we are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
Mr. President, you met with the chairman.
Somebody said that about me the other day. They said, who doesn't know me very well, they said, "You're such a kind person." And I said, "Say that again." They said, "You're a kind person." I said, "I've never heard that before." It was a weird statement. I was kind.
Who said that?
I've heard of words that, I don't know, I better not tell you. I've been called a lot of things, but it's sort of a different kind of a word. It's like an old-fashioned word, isn't it?
Mr. President, you met with the chairman of Stellantis today. Did
Yes.
he ask you for a pause on the auto tariffs?
No.
What was that meeting about?
Just about some of the problems they have with the environmental, which we're going to clean up.
Have any of the automakers...
We're going to probably go back to 1920. If you look, we're going to go back probably to a 2020 standard. So we'll have 2020 standard, and that's just a few years ago. Oh, they're making it so difficult all over the world. They're making it. It doesn't mean a damn bit of difference even for the environment. It doesn't matter. They make it impossible for people to build cars. So we're going to be doing much different. 2020 is a strong standard. But they've taken it to a level now that makes it very difficult to build a car. So we're going to be bringing it back to a standard that is a very good environmental standard, but it makes it possible to build a car.
Have you heard any concerns from the automakers, though, about the tariffs on parts that will go into effect over the coming weeks, about
they
what
all
that's going
know.
to mean for the price of...
Well, I gave them a big break
parts?
for a month. I didn't charge them anything, for a big month, for that first month, and they brought a lot of material into this country because they could bring it in without tariff. If you look at Canada and Mexico, they were driving hundreds of thousands of cars into the market because they avoid the tariffs by doing it before the tariffs go on, which would be Wednesday. And I saw some of your shows where cars are lined up for miles and miles. Some of them didn't have fenders on them. Some of them didn't have the roof on yet. They're driving it here brand new. They're driving it in because they want to avoid the tariffs. I let them have that. They sort of took advantage of it because, that wasn't part of the deal, but that's okay.
Are there any
They're
countries-
great American car companies, and so I gave them a little break on that. Yeah.
Are there any countries that you're not targeting on Wednesday?
Well, it depends. I said it's reciprocal. Not everybody has made a fortune, but almost everybody has, but not everybody. And the ones that haven't, we're going to be very nice to them.
And on a separate issue,
Because that word reciprocal is very important. What they do to us, we do to them. Okay,
can I just ask you briefly on President Putin? You said over the weekend, or indicated over the weekend, some frustration with him. How serious are you about imposing oil sanctions on
No, I
Russian
want to
oil?
see him make a deal so that we stop Russian soldiers and Ukrainian soldiers and other people from being killed. But mostly it's Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. They're losing at least 2,500 human beings, beautiful human beings, a week. And I wanted to stop. And some people would say, why do you worry about Russian soldiers or Ukrainian soldiers? I worry because it's like they're just like you people. They're like us. They're like all of us. And I seem to have an ability to do those things. And if I can do that, I think it's a very worthwhile thing to do. And I think we will. No, I want to make sure that he follows through, and I think he will. I don't want to go secondary tariffs on his oil, but I think, it's something I would do if I thought he wasn't doing the job. I did it with Venezuela, secondary tariffs, and you know what happened? Every boat left the harbor. Did you see that? It was a beautiful thing to see. The whole harbor emptied out. My words weren't even finished, and I have these massive ships. They're actually taking the hoses and dumping them into there. They couldn't get out of there fast enough because they know I don't play games. So I think he's going to live up to what he told me, and I think he's going to fulfill his part of the deal. Now, then you have Zelensky, and hopefully he's going to live up. I see he's trying to renegotiate the rare earth. We did something because, as you know, the Europeans get paid back the money that they gave, and we don't, because Biden is an incompetent president. And he should have asked for rare earth, or he should have asked for the loans to be guaranteed in some form. That's what Europe did. Europe is in for probably $100 billion, and we're in for $350 billion. So we're in for more than 3 times. And now you could make it a little bit less than that, but it doesn't matter, whatever the number. We're in for substantially more than Europe. We could be in for $350 billion. They have no idea because Biden wasn't a good bookkeeper except for himself. And what happens is we made a deal for rare earth. It was all done. And I heard through you, I haven't spoken to them yet, but through you, I heard that they're now saying, well, I'll only do that deal if we get into NATO or something to that effect. Well, that was never, number one, discussed. Number two, I think it's going to be long before Putin, they said you're not going into NATO. And it could be, that's probably the reason the war started, actually.
We're hours away from a very special election. Wisconsin, Florida. I want to share your thoughts on Republican voters to not sleep on this. These are 2 very important races you got.
Well, it's a big race, Supreme Court race in Wisconsin. It's taking place essentially as it was early voting, and so we'll see what happens. It's a big race. I love Wisconsin. We won Wisconsin. Republicans typically don't do very well in Wisconsin, but I did. I actually won it twice. I actually probably won it 3 times, to be exact.
We played their side.
Not probably. I won it 3 times. And we had a rigged election the second time, but that's, one of those things. We had to make this one too big to rig. Would you agree with that, Brian?
Yes,
too big to rig?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, but there's a big race, and I hope you get out and vote for the Republican. The woman is a radical left lunatic. And let's see who wins. But the woman will be very bad. And Wisconsin's a big state politically, and the Supreme Court has a lot to do with elections in Wisconsin. So if whoever it is that's running, including, even Senate races, et cetera, but whoever it is in 4 years that runs, having Wisconsin is a very big, we won it early and big, but winning Wisconsin's a big deal. So therefore, the Supreme Court choice, that is the one you're talking about right now. It's a big race. It's going to be announced fairly shortly.
President Trump, on TikTok, big week of deadlines. You got Liberation Day and the TikTok deadline is this
we
week.
do, which I can extend if I want, but we have a lot of enthusiasm for TikTok, for buying it. I think TikTok is good. I used it I was a great TikTok guy, and we won by 36 points, the youth. We won the youth, which Republicans don't do. Maybe it's because Kid Rock likes Trump. I don't know, but we won the youth by 36 points, and I attribute some of that to TikTok.
Is the TikTok deal, the negotiations now, tied to a bigger tariff deal with China?
No, but it could be. I mean, I've used tariffs for lots of different reasons, but I could see, 1 point in tariffs with China, a big country, would be probably worth more than all of TikTok, as valuable as TikTok is. It's big stuff. So there's a great example. That's a great question, actually. I'm a very flexible person. I could use that for that. Like, maybe I'll take a couple of points off if I get approvals for something. I haven't done it. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But it's a very good question. Peter, you're very good.
Thank you. You'll love this one.
Go ahead.
It's not front page news, but I am just curious. What is your thought about Tiger Woods now becoming part of the broader Trump family?
Well, I love Tiger, and I love Vanessa, and they had a great relationship. I happen to think the relationship with my son, I happen to think the relationship was hurt very badly by the witch hunt that went on, Russia, and all the crap that they put Don through, who knew nothing about it. But Vanessa and Don had a very good relationship. They have incredible children, 5 incredible children, all good athletes, all great students. They're like great. And they broke up, quite a while ago, and which was to me very sad because I think they're both great. Don and Vanessa, and Tiger actually called me a few months ago, and you have a very special, very good relationship with Tiger. I played golf with him a couple of times over the last month, and he's a fantastic guy and a fantastic athlete. And he told me about it, and I said, Tiger, that's good. That's good. I'm very happy for both. I just let them both be happy. Let them both be happy. They're both great.
To follow up on China, China, South Korea, and Japan say they're going to work together in cooperation to respond to the tariffs that you're going to put into effect this week. Are you concerned that this move of the tariffs this week could push some of the United States' closest allies to work with China?
No, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Yeah.
Mr. President, can I ask
I
about
think
something?
they have a chance of doing better, actually, with the tariffs. It could actually help them in a certain way. And I think a lot of them will drop their tariffs because, they've been unfairly tariffing the United States for years. And if you look at the European Union on cars, the European Union already dropped their tariff down to 2.5%. It was announced a couple of days ago, which is what which is a very small tariff. The United States charged very little. And I think I heard that India just a little while ago is going to be dropping its tariffs very substantially. And I said, why didn't somebody do this a long time ago? A lot of countries are going to be dropping their tariffs.
About something that happened in France today, Mr. President. Marine Le Pen, the far-right leader, got convicted in court and is now banned from running for office for 5 years. Do you have a comment about
That's
that?
a big deal. That's a very big deal. I know all about it, and a lot of people thought she wasn't going to be convicted of anything, and I don't know if it means conviction, but she was banned for running for 5 years, and she's the leading candidate. That sounds like this country. That sounds very much like this country. Okay, anybody else?
You've been presented with a bunch of proposals for tariffs by your advisors. They've been talking about that idea publicly.
And who?
That your advisors have presented ideas
They
to you
do.
about tariffs and what to do in the next few days. Have you settled
Well,
on
you're
any-
going to see, I've settled, actually a long time ago. But we talk about it. We talk about it a lot. We want to do what's right for the country and even the world. It affects the world, not just this country. This has been the piggy bank for the entire world. So it really does affect the world, and that's important to me also. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. President, in the past you have said that you want the quick return of Austin Tice, a Marine Corps veteran and a journalist who went missing in Syria over 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Have efforts been made to locate Austin Tice been extended beyond Syria, including potential leads in Iran? And do you have plans to get in touch with Ms. Deborah Tice, the mother of Ms. Austin Tice, and also at the same time, organizations like Hostage Aid Worldwide have been on the ground in Syria, searching for Austin Tice for many years. Can I get your comment on the potential future plans to locate Austin Tice and to bring him home finally?
So we've been looking, as you know, for Austin for years. I don't know about Biden. I don't think Biden was looking for anything, but we were, and there's been virtually no sign. You know that. There's been no sign of Austin. an incredible young guy. Be less young now. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been many, many years. The mother is fantastic. She's a very committed mother that her whole life is to find her son, who was in Syria and just disappeared off the face of the earth. So, you know, a lot of bad things happen. But we're always, you know, we will never, until we find out something definitive, one way or the other, we'll never stop looking for him. But we have been, and the response, it's just a lot of dead ends. He's been gone for a long time. The problem is there's never been a sighting. You know, sometimes you'll have somebody, you're looking for him, and there's a sighting. There's never been a sighting of Austin, but we are out there, and we have great respect for his family and for his mother. She's been unbelievable. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, a question about...
No, behind you.
No, apologies.
Yes, you've had outreach with the leaders of Russia and China. You've made an outreach to Iran. When are you going to plan to reach out to North Korea and Kim Jong-un? Anytime in the near future?
Well, I do. I have a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un. Now, you people hate to hear that, but it's very important. I got along with him fantastically, as you know. It started off very rough, very nasty. Little rocket man, the whole thing was a nasty deal. And then one day we got a call that they'd like to meet. We met. We have a great relationship. And, yeah, we have, there is communication, yeah. I think it's very important. You know, he's a big nuclear nation, and he's a very smart guy. I got to know him very well. You remember I put my foot across the line, and then I walked across the line. I don't know if Secret Service was thrilled with that. They actually wasn't. They were not too thrilled. But I have a very good relationship with him. Yeah, we'll probably do something at some point. Yeah, please, Jeff.
Who's on your short list, Mr. President, to replace Elise Stefanik as U.S. Ambassador to the UN?
So we have a lot of good people that want it. First of all, Elise is fantastic, and I just don't want to take chances where you guys saying, how's the election going? We have a congressional election that's a little bit close. I guess the one is in good shape, but the other one's a little bit close. But Randy Fine is a great guy. They're both good candidates. They're very good. But it's, you know, a little bit, we want to be careful. And Elise is very popular in her district, and so am I. We won by a lot of points, and so did she. And there's a lot of people that wanted to run for it, but we have no idea, are they going to win? I think it's just security. And I said, Elise, what about going back? Because they love you there, and she's going to take a big leadership position with Mike Johnson and the group, the speaker. And I can tell you that for the replacement, we have a lot of people that have asked about it and would like to do it. David Friedman, Rick Grinnell, and maybe 30 other people. Everyone loves that position. That's a star-making position. And so we'll see what happens. But we have a lot of people that are interested in going to the United Nations, as you can imagine. Yeah.
Just a quick music question. Favorite song to play live is what? And then my question for you, Mr. President, your favorite rally you did last year, 2024. What was your favorite one?
Favorite song to play live?
Yeah, favorite song to play live.
Oh, that's a tough one. It'd have to be one of the hits, probably Cowboy or Ball with the Bar. There's a song that I've played every night that was never a singular hit that I probably should not say the words to in this office right now.
And then for you, Mr.
You never
He
met a certain
by the
person
way,
like
his
me.
rallies are amazing. He does great and gets big crowds. He's really a star when it comes to that. He is a very talented guy. I would say maybe Madison Square Garden, because anybody that was there, the owner of the garden, Jim Dolan, who's, you know, to me always been terrific. He said this, he's never seen anything like it. We had, when you announce Madison Square Garden, you know, it's a big arena, but we sell out big arenas. We sold out in Milwaukee. We sold out at every big arena. We never had empty seats. It's amazing. They talk about Bernie Sanders gets 2,000 to 3,000 people. Everyone said, these crowds, I get 107,000 people in New Jersey. In Butler, PA, we had over 100,000 the second time. We had 55,000 the first time. We have big crowds. I would say Madison Square Garden because I grew up in New York and the garden is great. Jim Dolan treated us well, but Everybody said they, because I think I could have filled it up 10 times. We had hundreds of thousands of people that were stacked all the way back to the Hudson River and on the other direction, back to Fifth Avenue. Nobody's ever seen, I don't mean with a line, I mean like 50 deep, this way. The streets were closed, the whole thing, it was crazy. And when you take that, you want to do well at Madison Square Garden. You don't want to have empty seats. But we could have sold it out, Brian, 10 times, and everybody knew it. And I think we got a good indication that that's where the election was going. And we won every swing state, and we won by millions of votes. It was a great election, yeah.
Mr. President, the U.S. military transferred 17 individuals to El Salvador overnight. Did you discuss with your team whether these deportations would run afoul of any recent court orders?
No, I do want to thank, however, the president. He has been unbelievable, and in relation to us. But I think that our people have done an incredible job. I got elected on the basis of getting bad people out of our country that shouldn't be here, very dangerous people out of our country. And that's what I did. And then you have a judge that wants to take over, and I can't imagine it can be allowed. If it was up to him, they'd all be put back in our country. These are killers. These are drug lords. These are really bad people. But I want to thank the president of El Salvador because he's done an amazing job. You saw it. Yeah.
Elon Musk's special government tenure is coming to an end, 130 days, I think another month.
Yeah.
Do you want him to stay longer, or is it time for him to go back to running his companies in Europe?
Well, I think he's amazing, but I also think he's got a big company to run. And so at some point he's going to be going back. He wants to.
But you want to keep him around?
But I'd keep him as long as I could keep him. He's a very talented guy. I love very smart people. And he's very smart. And he's done a good job. Doge has, we found numbers that nobody can even believe, like 400 billion, 500 billion. It could be close to $1 trillion by the time they end on different things. And he's led the charge. And you've seen a lot of his people. And these are people that joined up. I always say they're high IQ people. I like high IQ people. And they've done a great job. No, at some point, Elon's going to want to go back to his company. I will say he's got, despite the way he's been treated, so he's an American patriot, but the way he's been treated with Tesla is just terrible. It's just terrible. In fact, you have a Tesla. And you love it. He was saying before he bought a Tesla, he loved it. A lot of people are buying Teslas, I think, and I hope they are. He should not be treated that way. He's done an incredible service to our country.
Well, once he goes back, is Doge going to keep operating even without Elon here?
Well, I can't tell you that. I can say this, that a lot of the people that are working with Doge are the secretaries, the heads of the various agencies, and they've learned a lot, and they're dealing with the Doge people. I think some of them may try and keep the Doge people with them, but, at a certain point, I think it will end. But they have also gotten a big education, and they're doing a really good job. There'll be a point at which the secretaries will be able to do this work and do it very, as we say, with the scalpel, and that's what we want. Yeah, Jeff?
Mr. President, have you had any updates on the U.S. soldiers missing in Lithuania?
I have.
Can you give us an update?
So 3 are no longer with us, and 1 is unfortunately probably in the same category, but they haven't declared that yet. It was a very heavy truck, like a toy, but really heavy, that lifted the heaviest equipment. And it would seem that the bank of a lake collapsed, the weight is so big. And it was at night, and it was very cold weather, and ice, a lot of ice. And it's possibly slipped, and the weight is so enormous of this thing. It's a massively heavy vehicle, and if they slipped a little bit, that's probably what happened, and it flipped. And 3 are gone, and 1 is missing.
On a separate topic, follow up on immigration. Did you see the video of the Tufts University student who was taken off the street by ICE agents last week in hoodies and masks? There's been a lot of criticism of that. Are you comfortable with how that was handled?
Well, I haven't really looked at it in any detail, but I will. I have seen it quickly, but not. I wouldn't want to comment on. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, would you be able to confirm recent reporting that you are making plans to go to Saudi Arabia next month? And if so, why is Saudi Arabia so important?
So I have a very good relationship with the Middle East. In fact, if you look at Michigan, I won the vote by a lot. People were a little surprised. And I have a very good relationship with Mohammed and the king. His son is Mohammed. He's great. Crown Prince, actually, he's Prime Minister, too. He's got a lot of good titles. But he's great. And the king has been wonderful. And if you remember, last time I went to Saudi Arabia, I put him first on the list because they agreed to buy $450 billion worth of American goods, military and otherwise. And they did. And it was an unbelievable day. It was in this gorgeous ballroom, and companies were there from many, probably 100 companies. And they were given anywhere from $40 or $50 million to less. And more, actually. Okay, some of them were given numbers that were just many times that amount. I think we had a couple of $20 billion deals and big stuff. And it's a very rich country because of oil. And we are a very rich country ultimately when we straighten it out because of oil. Oil is always good. And I agreed to do it again, and they've agreed to spend close to $1 trillion of money in our American companies, which to me means jobs. So they're going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars giving them to American companies that are going to be making equipment for Saudi Arabia and other places in the Middle East. And for that, I think it's worth it. I did it last time, $450 billion, and the press was there. It was one of the most unique days I've ever seen, where companies would get up and you're getting $20 billion. They named the company. The chairmen were all there, every chairman and top person in the company. You remember that, Peter? I don't know if you were there. You might be too young for that.
I was on the Democratic campaign trail at the
Oh,
time,
that
so I
was
missed
boring. This was a much better deal. But it was amazing, actually. It was an amazing day. We sold and we partook in $450 billion worth of investment into American companies. And they announced the company, the amount of money, $1 billion, $5 billion, $25 billion. And the chairman of the company, many of whom, you know, well-known figures, prestigious figures, great business leaders, they went up, they shook the hand of somebody, and they would sit down, and we just had a big investment made. So it was a record. Nobody ever beat it before. $450 billion worth of jobs. I view it as jobs more than anything else. And now we're close to $1 trillion, so it's more than double the number that we did when I first came to office.
And this trip takes place next month.
It could be next month, maybe a little bit later, yeah. And we're going to Qatar also. And also we're going to possibly a couple of other countries. UAE is very important. It's a great leader in UAE. And I had his brother here the other night, if you saw that. We had a wonderful guy, a wonderful family. So we'll probably stop at UAE and Qatar, and as I used to call it, Qatar. Nobody's ever told me right or wrong. I always like to say Qatar, but it's Qatar. They like to say Qatar. And Saudi Arabia, the three of them, and then we'll go other places also. But in the Middle East, those seem to be the three. And again, tremendous amounts of jobs will be created in those 2 or 3 days. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press. Headed out that door right there. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys.
Wait.
Well, that was good. Okay, ready, everybody? Now, you better do well with this. He's going to do it. Make sure everything is nice and clean, right, for your
Make
industry.
America fun
Because
again.
you're not in a clean industry. Hold that up. Okay? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.